understatement to say Mama was going to hit the roof when she found out. However, Hutchison leaned back in his seat, bridging his long, elegant fingers. Improvisation is as necessary a skill for a pianist as is sight-reading the classics. Let's not make this a total waste of time. Surely there's something you can play from memory. Grace blinked back tears. He was giving her another chance to prove herself. She swallowed. Of course. It was now or never. The problem was that her mind was drawing a blank. Without the sheet music as her guide, she knew only bits and pieces of her Handel audition piece. Mama had insisted upon it because of its complexity. Now that complexity was proving to be her downfall. Grace should have never let Mama have her way, again. The walls of the cavernous room began to feel like they were closing in on her. Grace's lower lip trembled as she stared at the baby grand piano before her. It was magnificent, a Steinway, with all the bells and whistles, no doubt. She hadn't seen anything like it since the one time she had performed at a holiday recital at the Apollo Theater. She lifted her hands and let her fingers glide up the keys in a practice scale. Then her left thumb slipped on the last note. Her head whipped up, horrified. Sorry, She quickly closed her mouth before she foolishly let it slip that uniformed visitors had come to her family's door the night before, and that a gold star now graced her home's window. Tossing out excuses was not in Grace's character. She wouldn't start now just because her brother was dead. It happens. Hutchison didn't bother to hide his pity anymore. It's natural to be nervous. How about you forget that I'm here? Pretend that this isn't an audition, that we're not at Juilliard. You're at home. Just relax and play. For yourself. Her fingers froze at the suggestion. Home was the last place she wanted to be, and playing for herself would mean letting this man hear one of her compositions, opening up the most inner parts of her musical self to a stranger, sharing the jazz-inspired pieces that only Tony and his friends at the clubs had been allowed to hear. She could imagine her mother's face souring at the very idea of her daughter befouling the hallowed halls of Juilliard with that trash music. Grace wouldn't dare. She would rather leave now, having played nothing at all. This is for you, Tony, she whispered. Grace closed her eyes, praying for the magic to return to her fingers, to just forget the words on that telegram that had shattered her world. Mama's grand plan for her aside, Grace was the one who chose to be here today. She came here to play. Mama's voice echoed in her head. Steele women do not fail. She would not fail. Hands for you, Mama. Now play something. She took a deep breath, calling her mind for something appropriate that she knew well enough to play on the fly. Her fingers began to move at the first thing that came to mind. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. She breezed through the opening notes of the piece. She smiled. The magic was back. But that magic took her only so far. She made it through the meditative first movement with no problem. After that, the piece sped up to a frenetic pace. Her out-of-practice fingers stumbled over the first refrain, and the next, then her thumb slipped again. There was no hiding her clumsy playing now. She looked up. Hutchison was pursing his lips. Finally, he held up his hand. Maybe it would be better if we ended the audition here. Grace's insides deflated, but she willed her spine to remain straight. She returned her hands to her lap. Okay. She gathered her things, including the useless folder, and stood to leave. When should I expect to receive your decision? Hutchison smiled at her kindly. I've heard too many people who I respect rave about your talent.